Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show with the great Joe Rayo on the left, and I'm Joe Chaffee here on the right. And JJ is asleep right next to me on the floor in his usual position during showtime. He conks out before I even say my first words. uh, Smart guy. And tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by, there it is. Yep, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware on 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. And they've got mulch, soil, whatever you need to make your yard look the best, to make it the best yard in the neighborhood. And in these days of high prices, since Omni makes the mulch themselves, they've got the best prices in town. So head over to Omni True Value Hardware. Again, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon on Long Island, serving the entire New York City tri-state area. Just bring your truck. They've got a front loader, and you're all set to go. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. So today, and tomorrow, we've already had a pretty wild, severe weather day across the state of Georgia anyway, and into parts of Alabama, a number of tornadoes just south of me, from Atlanta southward, Joe, getting hit rather hard with thunderstorms. I had some heavy downpours, but and a little bit of thunder, but those storms never really made it up to me. But there's wholesale severe weather risk tonight. Now it's going to shift for the overnight. It's going to be from the southern plains on up through the middle Mississippi and into the Ohio Valley. And then we've got a big risk area for tomorrow that's going to cover the Gulf states, the Southeast, and the Ohio Valley. And they've got marginal risk pushing up to almost to New York City on Wednesday.
Well, if that happens, it probably will be in the latter part of the night, Tuesday night, into the first part of the day on Wednesday, as a cold front approaches, and probably will move on through, Joe, I think by midday on Wednesday locally. And by the end of the day, Wednesday, with northwesterly winds kicking in and drying the atmosphere out, we may actually finish the day on Wednesday up here with a little bit of sunshine and somewhat drier air moving in. But I think if we do see any severe weather or any kind of significant convection here, again, it would not be until after midnight tomorrow night into the early part of the day on Wednesday with that frontal passage.
Yes, indeed. And I was, looking out a bit into the long range. I don't know, that low that's going to form off the East Coast looks like it's going to be far enough out to not cause any issues. But we still have this upper trough that's going to be coming through at the end of the week, so there'll probably be some showers. And it's also going to be after tomorrow. Wednesday, it'll still probably get up into the 70s in most places. But let's say after Wednesday, it's going to be on the cool side for Thursday, Friday, and probably through the weekend. And I'm thinking for the weekend, Saturday will be a little bit better than Sunday. Saturday should be okay. Sunday will be so-so for Mother's Day. Maybe some showers coming in late in the day, Sunday or Sunday night. But I'm guessing that most of the day side on Sunday for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England should be on the dry side. That's my early call.
Yeah, I think the only model that really was showing anything significant in terms of rainfall for Sunday was the European, and they had that area of rain moving in by midday on Sunday. I said, really? You think it's really going to move in that quick? Because even the GFS, which is normally faster and more robust in the long range than the European, had kept a lot of that precipitation out or back until, as you just said, Joe, late in the day or Sunday night. So we'll see what happens. One of the things I was thinking about yesterday after we finished the show is that over time, you tend to learn the quirks of a specific model, how it reacts or whatever like that. But they have changed the GFS so often over the last 2 or 3 years. No sooner do they have a new GFS in, but all of a sudden they have a new, as you would call it, a new perpendicular or a new parallel model. that they're testing out.
hexagonal,
And by the
whatever
time
it is.
you've gotten used to the GFS that you've been working with for many months, all of a sudden it's gone, and now they stick in a brand new one, and now you have to relearn the quirkiness of the new model. It's what are you going to do?
Yeah. Latex, Tim on the chat board, who goes by Latex Dreams for whatever reason, asks if I have a storm shelter here. No, I don't. I have a crawl space that's actually not truly a crawl space. One side of the house, because my house is on a hill, so one side of the crawl space actually you could stand up in it pretty easily. But if I have to go anywhere, I probably would go in there. But no shelter here in my house or anybody nearby. And Bill Rogers has been asking, he's asking me about wanting to do a video so that he doesn't have to eat Chef Boyardee anymore, can actually make some homemade sauce from scratch. I promise I will get to it. The problem with me doing a video is I have to have somebody record it while I'm doing it, somebody I can trust. And that makes it hard because I'm up here in the mountains. I don't get many visitors, but I do on occasion. So I have to sucker in somebody to record it for me because it's a lot of, there's a few steps involved. And I can tell you that at least ahead of time, if you want to kind of get ready to do it, it's not that difficult. You just get a big pot, give you a selection of meats. I usually use some pork spare ribs, a shoulder lamb chop, and some short ribs. If you can get the short ribs boneless and thick pieces, even better. And we'll take it from there. And San Marzano tomatoes are important, so you should be able to get your hands on those. And some tomato puree or some chopped tomatoes, or I'm sorry, some crushed tomatoes, I should say. But I promise, as soon as if I have somebody here that can record it for me, I will do that because it's hard to cook and hold your phone at the same time. I'm bound getting greasy hands doing this stuff, Joe. I'll probably wind up dropping my phone into the frying pan while I'm doing all this. So I need to do it. Let's call it safely.
Too bad we don't have some of your friends from up north, like Phil or.
Well, my friend Phil was here with his wife Veronica. They were here the last 2 days, but I already had sauce from the last time I made it. So all I had to do was add a can of fresh peeled tomatoes and a can of tomato puree, and I threw in a few chunks of pork ribs and a few other things. So it really didn't take me very long to prep it, but I really need to do it where I'm starting it from scratch. But Bill, I promise you, just I don't know how long your Chef Boyardee supply is, how many cans you have, but I promise I will get to it right at the point that you run out to the last can, so you don't have to throw them away, or heaven forbid, give them away.
I haven't had SpaghettiOs in a good long time. Oh. Sometimes I say to Renata, don't we have something like SpaghettiOs or spaghetti and meatballs in a can or something? Something quick.
You actually said that to her?
Yeah.
And her response was?
She just looks at me and gives me like a smirk.
Luckily, she didn't smack you over the head. Oh, good Lord. You're right, by the way, going back with respect to the models, what you were bringing up. Yeah, you spend all this time learning, and then all of a sudden you got to figure out a whole new, looking at all the quirks. You have to figure out what's bad with the new model after you already know what's bad with the old one. Oh, the horrible weather world that we live in. Oh, okay, that was nice. Let's see if this happens again. Oh, wait, hang on a second. My mouse battery.
What happened?
No, sometimes my mouse battery acts up a little bit, and I have to just pull it out. There it goes.
this is I have. Do you have a cordless
Yes,
mouse?
wireless. Yes.
Yeah, same. Set wireless, and I had the same thing. And about 6 months after I'd gotten this computer, I suddenly came to realize why my mouse wasn't working. That I actually had to change the battery. Now I don't know about you, but from then there on, before I go upstairs or close down for the night, I hit the little switch and turn the mouse off, which
Yeah, I never turn it on.
saves
I
battery
haven't
power.
changed the battery on this in I don't even remember the last time I changed it. Sometimes what happens on at least on my wireless mouse, is that the battery just kind of shifts a little bit and it's not touching the connection. So I open it up and just move just pop the battery out and pop it back in, and then it's fine. So you might want to try
Yeah.
that before you change the battery with the next time it does that, because it should last you. It should last you quite a while. I can tell you this:
Yeah.
I don't think I've changed the battery on this mouse in 2 years,
Wow.
and I use my computer a
Wow.
lot, so um, try that. Pop the battery out and just pop it back in. And on mine, there's like a little green light, so as long as the light is
Yeah.
green, we're okay.
Well, mine is there's a white light when you first turn it on, and then it turns green, and then it turns off when you're really doing your thing or whatever. But
Mm,
all right, I'll try that.
Try that. All right, so I got the radar
Yes.
up. I figured we'd do that first thing. We got some scattered light showers over southern New England and over Long Island, and there's some heavier stuff that's down in looks like over coastal central Jersey and also into central Pennsylvania and into western Maryland. And that's all kind of now shifting slowly to the east. So it looks like those showers will be moving through eastern PA to southern New England. Not too much going on in northern New England. Some showers starting to reach into southern Mass, but nothing much further north than that. We've got heavier showers and thunderstorms, an east-west band that runs from just about Wilmington, North Carolina, as of 7:43 p.m. Eastern time on the radar, from about Wilmington, North Carolina, westward through much of South Carolina. Then there's a little bit of a break in Georgia because the storms were there earlier. They weakened a little bit now. And there's a strong little band there north of Atlanta that's moving just about to me, but that looks like it's also weakening. And then there's some storms in central Alabama, also some in southeastern Alabama. And then take a look back in Texas, probably not too far from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, seeing a fairly solid line of thunderstorms that's developed in the last 2 hours, really firing up fairly rapidly and extending on up into Oklahoma. That is the severe weather risk. The Storm Prediction Center today on their outlook. I'll just push it back to day one here and take a look at it. It's a pretty, it's a large area, but the map doesn't tell you about the timing of these things. So the slight risk area from eastern Mississippi across Georgia and into North Carolina, that actually started earlier today and has lasted now into this evening. The area to the west, that enhanced risk in northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, across much of central and northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, southernmost Illinois, those thunderstorms are going to be going on tonight. So, and there is tornado risk out of this too, by the way. There's a 10% chance of tornadoes in a small area and a larger 5% chance that covers both the enhanced and the slight risk zone that is up again for tonight. So nighttime tornadoes are, I mean, not that daytime tornadoes are fun, but nighttime tornadoes are not fun because you can't see what's
No, that
coming.
if there's anything more frightening than to be, you know, under a tornado warning in the middle of the night, and absolutely, I cut you off, but I'll follow through with what you were saying. That at night you really can't see anything. You can't see the funnel. You can't see it unless there's vivid lightning out there. That's got to be the most scary thing. And then to hear the sound of this meteorological monster bearing down on you. So what else can you say except if you have to be stuck with an impending tornado, have it during the daytime and not during the nighttime, or else, well, if you have dark hair, you'll end up looking like my hair after that little bit of experience with that nasty, uh, potentially nasty thunderstorm or tornadic condition.
Busy night, by the way, for SPC because we have one a, a very large severe thunderstorm watch area running from east central Mississippi across Alabama into Georgia. There's a new tornado watch that just popped up into South Carolina. There is a very large tornado watch up in central and northeast Texas with that rapidly developing line of thunderstorms. A severe thunderstorm watch also in West Texas and up in central Illinois, uh, going back down into parts of east central Missouri, around which includes St. Louis, by the way, included in that particular severe thunderstorm watch. And I'm going to bring up the surface map, Joe, because this is the first time, we've had these severe weather outbreaks. Obviously, we've had a number of them since March, especially in places like Mississippi and Alabama, which have gotten hit hard several times with widespread outbreaks. But this is the first time when I'm looking at the surface map at 5 o'clock this afternoon. The dew points are just insane today. I mean, they are in the much of central and eastern Texas, all across the Gulf states, dew points in the 70s, and in some places as high as 74, 75. And in a few spots, we've seen temperatures actually in the upper 80s to around 90. So we're talking about serious daytime heating that occurred. And by the way, those tropical-like dew points, you've got 70 dew points pushed up all the way into North Carolina, 60s dew points in the mid to upper 60s in Virginia. There's a warm front lying just to the south of our region. If you look at the surface map, there's a stationary front that's analyzed across southern New Jersey and then kind of snakes across north central PA into western New York. South and west of there, the dew points are all in the mid and upper 60s. You get into Ohio, you get into Indiana, you're looking at dew points in the mid and upper 60s, even some places pushing up around the 70-degree mark. So this is a truly like a solid tropically saturated air mass of the moisture that's come out of the Gulf of Mexico, covering a very large portion of the eastern part of the U.S. And that carries over into tomorrow's risk area because the Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow has enhanced risk in all of Mississippi, virtually all of Alabama, into northwest Georgia, on up into central Tennessee, and then back down into a good chunk of the state of Louisiana, with slight risk running up into the Ohio Valley, up into West Virginia and southern Ohio. Marginal risk almost, but not quite, to southeast PA, cuts through Delaware, and then goes north and west of there into western New York. So the all that saturated air is going nowhere until a weather front can clean it out, and that's not gonna happen until Wednesday. So tomorrow is going to be another busy day, I think, in severe weatherland.
You talk about those high dew points at the late Tex Antoine many years ago. Whenever we had dew points in the 70s up here in New York, he used to refer to that as the, quote, wallpaper peeling off the wall type of condition. Very, very humid. Sometimes he would refer to it as equatorial in some sense of the word. So I guess that's what it's like to be down in that part of the country, Texas, now, and I would suppose for the next several months. It's rough if you're not used to that. Well, you were down there for a while, not only Texas, Corpus Christi, but also New Orleans, and it must have been interesting to just step outside. I suppose there were some days where you would just step outside and you'd automatically or immediately break a sweat.
Oh, by the time you walked out the door to get in your car, you had to take another shower.
Yeah,
Seriously.
exactly.
I used to play.
Exactly.
I used to play tennis once, doubles tennis a lot, and it was not uncommon for me to basically take off my shirt and wring it out. Okay, and I could make a puddle on the ground with all the sweat that I would produce. And as the water is hitting the ground, and of course, if the sun is out, within moments, you could actually watch the water evaporate and dry on the tennis court. It was an amazing thing. You'd leave, and then you'd be walking. Your socks would be so filled with sweat that as you're walking, you're leaving footprints wherever you go. I mean, it is
It's amazing.
it's a different world. The risk area for Wednesday is all marginal risk, running from northwest Florida on up through southern half of Georgia, south and virtually all of South and North Carolina and Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. In New Jersey, it looks like the line is right. The northern edge of that line is right along Route 78 and just south of the South Shore of Long Island. Joe, this is a time of year where we play that game, a battle of the warm fronts, whether they come through, they don't come through, or if a front to the north is there, it decides to sink southward at the last minute. I don't have a good sense of whether this is going to get expanded or not. I'm looking at this frontal boundary for tomorrow. It's going to be mostly to our north, but not very far. Then it kind of buckles southward tomorrow night, and then it tries to move northward again on Wednesday before the cold front moves on through. And as you said, it probably will be early on in the day. I don't know if this is going to wind up getting pushed further north.
I don't know either. If there's any kind of really active severe weather here, if we do get into the marginal zone, my feelings are that looking at the numerical guidance models, that it'd be more likely to happen again in the after midnight hours into the early hours after midnight of Tuesday night into the early hours of Wednesday. And but the way things have been going at SPC, Joe, whenever they have issued day 3 outlooks, they have more often than not taken it and moved it further north on day 2 and day 1. So who's to say that perhaps we may actually be in that area of marginal? And I would not be surprised if on day 2 or day 1 they outline an area of slight chance of severe, covering, let's say, the Carolinas, maybe up into the Virginia Capes. So
yeah, that I think may happen. I just don't think this will be an instance where all of a sudden we'll wake up and have a slight risk sitting over us like we did the other day, only to have the next forecaster take it down, and correctly so. The day 4 to 8 time frame, by the way, so Thursday into Friday is day 4, Friday into Saturday, day 5. They have potential too low for both those days. And then from day 6, starting from Saturday into Sunday, Sunday into Monday, Monday into Tuesday, they have predictability too low in their long range. The satellite loop, which should load momentarily, if it would like. Oh, come on.
It will.
It's the circle of death. There we go. Well, that's kind of a cute looking satellite shot. Almost looks like a giant donut sitting over the Great Lakes at the moment. There's a big hole. That's weird, Joe. You take a look at this. When you see it up on your screen, it's coming up now. You'll see it. There's like this big donut hole from earlier.
Yeah,
that's weird.
I see that. You talk about a mock clearing. That's about as mock as you can get. Yeah.
And look at the storms. Look in Texas. Look how fast that they blow up. They go from nothing. And there's like this little line, a little stick of clouds on one frame there, and then all of a sudden it's like this big kaboom. Look at the blow off going rapidly eastward.
Look how sharp the back edge of that area is.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a very sharp dry line, and you can see how the thunderstorms just blow up immediately ahead of the dry line, with the upper level winds literally pushing the clouds forward. It is amazing. I tell you, ever since we had GOES 16 put up, we have been seeing some amazing satellite images, and so thankful that we now have a tool like that to work with in terms of forecasting. That's amazing. That loop, you're right, down in Texas.
Yeah, you can also see the storms blowing up in Alabama and into Georgia right now, and also on up into South Carolina in the southeast. Very disjointed. You've got several systems running around here. So there's a lot going on, and of course the system now coming out of the Rockies is firing up those storms in Texas. So that's going to be the system that that's going to wind up getting into the Northeast on Wednesday. But again, as we said before, it doesn't appear, at least for our zone, that we're going to have a whole lot to worry about, or like waking up Wednesday and suddenly we have a higher risk of severe weather than what we're seeing now. I think everything's going to should play along according to plan. Let me bring up Tornado HQ. By the way, this is a good time to remind everybody that it is 7:56 p.m. Eastern Time on May 3rd. So if you are watching this later tonight or overnight or even tomorrow morning, obviously everything is dated. So please go to your local National Weather Service office to get the latest on the forecast and what's going on with severe weather. And you can do that by going to weather.gov. There is one, I'm going to switch this map. Give me a second. There are 29 working warnings at the moment. So I'm thinking the vast majority of those are going to be severe thunderstorm warnings. But this is the current map on the Tornado HQ. If you just go at the top of the page, tornadohq.com, if you go on the top of the menu, just click all severe weather warnings. You'll get both the tornado and the severe thunderstorm warning. And you can see these storms are just west of Dallas and moving. There's a slew of severe thunderstorm and I think it's 4 tornado warnings in that line. To the east in Alabama, in central Alabama, and east central Alabama, basically between Montgomery and Birmingham, we have 2 working severe thunderstorm warnings there. One big warning in South Carolina, looks like somewhere between Charleston and Myrtle Beach or just northwest of Charleston, and then 2 special marine warnings out in the coastal waters near Myrtle Beach. There's also a bunch of severe thunderstorm. Let me get a little closer on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 severe thunderstorm warnings and 1 tornado warning east of Springfield, Illinois. Just see if I can bring the warning up here. This a confirmed tornado located near Harristown or 9 miles west of Decatur, Illinois, moving east at 30 miles an hour. So, and hail of 1.75 in 1 3/4 inches in diameter. So this warning is up until 7:15 Central Daylight Time. A confirmed tornado near Harristown, 9 miles west of Decatur, moving east at 30. Golf ball size hail. Weather spotters confirmed the tornado, and the usual flying debris. Don't get caught without shelter, mobile homes, etc., etc. So a tornado is on the ground. Take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you're outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Yeah, gustbuster umbrellas not probably won't work in a situation like this.
No, I don't think so.
Let,
And the last place you want to be is in a trailer park during a tornado warning.
Oh, no doubt.
Good Lord.
Big cell sitting right over Fort Worth at the moment. I'm going to quickly refresh this. Oh, great. I hit the refresh button. Oh, okay. For a moment there, it said this site cannot be reached. All right, let me bring this. Let me go back to this in approaching the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There's a big big severe thunderstorm warning in Fort Worth, and just about getting ready to probably be another warning that'll go up for Dallas. There's some very big cells in there. Again, that was a very impressive line. To the west of that, you go west of Abilene. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 severe thunderstorm warnings up in that region. So an incredibly busy evening here. And of course, tonight, going into tonight, it's the stuff that's in Texas and Oklahoma that's going to blossom out. And we'll probably be hearing something about this tomorrow morning. There's also something going on here in Maryland. Let's take a look at this, because that's closer to home anyway. And that might be, I'm guessing because that's all red, is that a flash flood or is that a tornado?
Well, I can't tell on my screen. It's very small, but
Let's see if I could bring it up a little closer and pull up the whole. Okay, so this is a tornado warning over Frederick, Maryland, moving east at 25
wow.
miles an hour. This is not a tornado that's on the ground, but a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Frederick. So it's probably got a little hook echo in there on the radar. And this was as of 7:40 Eastern time, and this warning is up until 8:15 Eastern Daylight Time. So once again, folks, if you're watching this on a replay tonight, go to weather.gov to make sure you get all the latest weather information on severe weather that's going on in your area. Alfred Phillips, who hasn't been on the chat board in a while, our friend from Wainwright, Alaska, on the North Slope,
Right.
is on. I always get such a kick when Alfred's here because he gives us a good gauge of real summer weather up on the North Slope of Alaska, especially once the temperature breaks above 32 there. But good to see you on board tonight. And Frederick is not that far from Washington, D.C., but it's actually to the northwest of Washington and west of Baltimore. Okay, just to give you, I saw somebody asked that, Johnny Quest asking, no, it's not that close to Washington. I mean, it's not that far, but it's not that close to Washington, D.C. Just to give you perspective here. WPC on their rainfall over the next 7 days. Let's take a look at this. And they've got, again, this is going through next Tuesday. So this takes into account everything between now and then, an inch and a half or more. So this also covers whatever happens late Sunday or Sunday night, or if the Europeans right, maybe earlier in the day, Sunday, we'll see. But an inch and a half plus, and even some 2-inch plus amounts in some places. You can see in the red and in the orange. In those areas, you're talking about 3, 4, even 5 inches of rain. A lot of that obviously is going to be convectively driven, and you're still getting some decent precip being indicated for Colorado, northwest up into western Montana, and on up into Canada and the Pacific Northwest. The Southwest is dry. Not too much going on in Florida. Most of the rainfall on the west coast of Florida on the light side, a little bit heavier on the east over the next 7 days, but amounts generally an inch or less, and about a half an inch to an inch or so for central and northern New England, and the inch and a half area pushing up into north central New York, which is good news because that area is still dealing with drought conditions, and later this week we'll pull up the drought maps and see whether that drought has been alleviated somewhat in the last week.
And just getting back quickly to Wainwright, Alaska, I very quickly called up some sunrise and sunset tables, Joe. At Wainwright, the sun now is rising at 4:30 a.m. local time and does not set until midnight. So the sun is only down for about 4.5 hours, and I'm sure that it never really fully gets dark, that there's still twilight from the time the sun sets until the time rises again about 4.5 hours later. Of course, as they get closer to the summer solstice, and I'm sure he'll verify this for us, but he's probably north of latitude 66 north. So I'm assuming that he's going to get into a period of, perpetual, 24-hour daylight for at least a short while by later on this month or early next month. It must be very interesting living up there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on both sides of the equation, what do you do in the wintertime when it's dark and barely gets light?
Right.
Or you could
right.
be like Bugs Bunny and take your vacation, and then you figure out that you don't have to be back to work until 1954 or whatever it was in that cartoon with the penguin.
You just lay out. Yes, but you just lay out there on your hammock, and if you're wearing glasses, Bugs will come along and apply paint to the glasses so that it gives you the impression that it's gotten dark all of a sudden.
Yes. All right, the NAM-3 for tonight. Actually, the NAM-3 fires up some pretty hefty cells during the overnight over Long Island ahead of the warm front. and over New York City and back into western New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania. You can see those moving northeast. And also, if you watch the line that's firing up now in East Texas, I don't know. The NAM 3 to me is a little underdone there. So let's see if maybe the HRRR. Let's switch to the HRRR and see if the HRRR has a better handle on that. Now even the HRRR, Joe, isn't. This is from earlier, so let's go to the 23Z, and that's only out for 6 frames, so we really can't tell very much. That looks a little better.
Well, we'll just have to go back. We'll just have to go back on standard time, Joe. I'll have you work on that.
Yeah, please. All right, so yeah, even the HRRR, I mean, it really doesn't show this line in Texas at all. I mean, it finally fires it up, but it looks like it just takes longer for it to get to where it already is. And you can see how those storms really blossom out across Arkansas and into western Tennessee. This is by 4 a.m. Getting pounded there. Of course, the rains in the northeast also showing some heavier cells in there, and there might even be there might be a thunderstorm or two in the mix here, coming in from those showers from the south and west in the next several hours and beyond. Then for tomorrow morning, those storms are moving across Tennessee, northern Alabama. Of course, this is going to shut off at 18 hours, because that's as far as it goes. But there's a pretty sizable line of storms tomorrow morning in northeastern Alabama, and then moving into northwest Georgia. So it looks like for me, Joe, tomorrow around between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. is probably going to be probably going to get into some pretty hefty thunderstorms here. And also another big line of storms that forms in northwest Mississippi and kind of snakes down into northern Louisiana. Meanwhile, here, eastern PA to southern New England, those showers overnight are gone. And then as long as the warm front behaves, I'm thinking you should break out into some sunshine tomorrow, especially from New York City south and west. And that should hopefully,
yes, I agree.
That should allow to take the temperatures up to 80 or better.
I agree that we should be breaking out into some at least some breaks of sunshine after a rather cloudy and rather foggy start to the day, and then we'll break out into that sun during the latter part of tomorrow. And then we have more showers, I think, coming our way for tomorrow night, as I mentioned, on into the latter part of tomorrow night and into the early part of Wednesday, and that may be when we'll have a shot up here at possible severe weather. Not to say that tonight. I think we may pick up maybe a half an inch of rain overnight, Joe. We might hear a little rumble or two of thunder, but I think the real threat for convection for us won't come until later tomorrow night.
And I went back on the HRRR to the 18Z run, because that goes out 48 hours. I just wanted to take a look at some of these storms across the south tomorrow. One line that moves in the morning from the stuff that's coming out now, that moves into western Tennessee, moves across Kentucky and Tennessee and North Georgia during the morning and early afternoon. And then there's another massive line of storms across Mississippi into Louisiana, and that moves eastward late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. Those actually peak out in intensity tomorrow evening, as they're just to my south and west, and then they fall apart after that. So it rained here for a good part of the day, and my poor buddy and I did not get to go out for our long walk today. So, you know, he's upset. He had that depressed look on his face, because he knew we weren't going to be able to walk like we usually do. So I'm going to have to figure out. Now
you told me that your other dog, Cody.
Yeah.
That you told me once that during severe weather, unlike most dogs which would hide under the bed or run around, you know, that he basically would bark at the thunder. Say, like, get out of here, right?
Yeah, if you open the door while a thunderstorm was going on and there was lightning, he would run toward it and bark at it, as if to say, you need to leave. You don't belong here.
Yeah.
He was very much into no, I'm serious. He was very much into order. So if you pulled a chair out from the table and you didn't push it back in, he would go up to the chair and bark. He would bark at the chair and bark at you, and he wouldn't stop until you pushed the chair back in. I'm seeing it was really it was bizarre. I would take him out for my walk, and if you put out, he was okay with the garbage pails because they were supposed to be there. But if somebody put out like a box next to the garbage pail, he would be upset at the box. He would bark at the box. The box doesn't need to be here. You need to move it. Go figure. Go
It's
figure.
amazing.
By the way, the HRRR for Wednesday is a little slower, and it has most of the stuff during the actual morning till about noon, 2 o'clock, and then pulls it out to the northeast. So it's a little bit slower than I think some of the other models.
All right. Well, we'll see how this all pans out when we get a little closer tomorrow at this time. And as you point out, I think the best day of the week, Joe, for us up here, weather-wise, probably will be Thursday. I see a nice day, basically a dry, not basically, a dry day on Thursday, a nice day, save for the fact that after a bright sunny start, we're going to start seeing more clouds later in the day. But as compared to what we saw today and what we probably will experience tomorrow and Wednesday, and ultimately return to unsettled weather on Friday, I think Thursday is the maybe not the pick of the week, but certainly the best of the lot.
And we still have a fairly active wet jet stream across the U.S. from west to east. The westerlies go all the way down to the Gulf Coast. The blue area indicating that the heights are below average. That's colder air aloft. Is covering a fairly large area, even for this time of year. And it's not unusual, but it's certainly favoring below normal conditions overall. And you can see it's not a very sharp shortwave trough that's moving into the east for later Wednesday and Wednesday evening. So we're not going to see another situation like we did late last week on Friday, with a wrapped up low and a very sharp upper trough moving through with those screaming winds. It might get a little breezy, but we're not going to be seeing wind advisories or anything like that. But the troughing in the east is very obvious here at the end of the week. And what's happening is you're getting there's a southern stream system here, and this is where the GFS is probably going to be wrong. Overall, from what it was doing a few days ago. The southern stream part is here. The northern stream part up approaching Minnesota. When I say here, I mean from, say, southern Michigan down into Alabama. These two are going to eventually sharpen in phase, but that's going to happen after everything goes by. If I'm moving it to Friday night, the southern stream system is lifting up, and there's probably some kind of upper low that's forming in southeastern New England. And then you got the northern energy that's trying to phase with that. But all of this is happening way too late, unlike some model runs from a few days ago where the phasing was occurring much earlier. And Joe, on one run I saw a few, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, actually maybe it was on Saturday, had a wrapped up animal east of New Jersey, south of Long Island, and actually had dark blue snow in the mountains of Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and northern Connecticut. So that was kind of funny to see that. But it's just not going to phase in time. It'll phase and do its strengthening when the low gets into the Gulf of Maine and up toward Nova Scotia. It does keep things, again, on the chilly side here overall, chilly relative to the time of year, by the way. And then, of course, as that lifts out, you've got more energy. Another arm is going to try to rotate around. Looks like an upper trough that tries to swing through the east sometime Monday night into Tuesday. And I'm just looking at the long range. Then we finally get into a ridge position later next week, a little system at the end of the week. And then we get into another ridge position going into the weekend of May 14th, 15th. So already talking about the middle of the month here. I'm just trying to...
Yeah.
It doesn't look, when I look at this upper air, Joe, it doesn't look like it's the kind of thing that... I mean, you'll get the odd day or so where it's warm, and then the rest of the time it's just going to be seasonal or a little bit below.
By the way, you talk about how time flies. Wednesday, of course, is May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. And also on May 5th, we reach the midpoint of spring. We are halfway through the spring season astronomically at 2:34 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So we're halfway done with spring, and we're halfway to the start of summer. So there you go. We're already at mid-spring, and yet we were talking not too long ago about wondering whether or not we'd still see a stray snowflake or two around here. But I don't really think we're going to have to worry too much about that anymore behind it. Even though these coming days, these next few days, actually will be averaging below normal. Normal here in the Hudson Valley is like 68, 69, and I could see that temperatures, you know, tomorrow through Saturday, maybe averaging more like within a few degrees of 60. So
Yeah.
we're going to be down a few degrees compared to where we should be, but then we'll start marching back up again during the weekend and early next week.
I think you're going to be right about Thursday. Friday on the new GFS, the low it moves off the North Carolina coast, and it shows a little bit of rain here on Friday, but that really I think is more from the upper trough than it is from the actual coastal low. Maybe some rain backs into southeastern New England and Long Island for a few hours in coastal New Jersey, but at the bottom line is the low is way out to the east. It's not going to be south of Long Island, east of New Jersey. And Saturday, clouds and sun, maybe a little bit. The GFS has a couple of showers up in northern New England. Again, probably because the upper trough is still kind of sort of hanging around. And then going into Mother's Day, there you go, Joe. Suddenly now the new GFS has rain here by before lunchtime on Sunday.
Yeah, that's kind of like what was the suggestion of the European, that they moved it in much faster, and now all of a sudden the intermediate, the 18Z run of the GFS, I would suggest, I don't think it goes. Excuse me. I don't think the 18Z run of the European takes us as far as Mother's Day. So
No.
really wouldn't be worth looking at yet.
No, I mean, it kind of looks to me like what we have is a stalled frontal boundary sitting right overhead that extends all the way back into northern New Mexico, and we're just getting these ripples that are moving along it. So there's some rain that moves in Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. Then that goes out, a little break, and then some more rain Monday, by Monday midday into Monday night. And then that goes out, and then finally enough drying comes down from the north. Nice little 1031 high in Wisconsin there, with northerly isobars in New England and down into the northern mid-Atlantic states. So then Tuesday and Wednesday of next week look okay, and then it's got another wave that comes out with rain here by next Thursday. So and what looks to be an active pattern, and in this time of year, an active pattern like this means a pattern where temperatures for the most part are going to be running near or below average. Not much else.
I think so.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
We are just 12 days away from the start of tropical weather outlooks, even though that the hurricane season doesn't officially start until June 1st, but the outlooks will start on May 15th. So mark your calendars down. Before we're sitting here just a few months ago thinking that we were never going to get out of winter, and all of a sudden hurricane season is almost knocking on the door. And can Christmas be far behind? That's all I can say.
Well, if it is, or if it's right around the corner, I'm sure that our friends over at Giannini will have many suggestions in terms of holiday lighting. It is, after all, Joe, only 6 months away before you really start thinking about that.
Oh yeah, to go to wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst to get your house decorated, or maybe even make it part of your business. And the website is liholidaylighting.com. We got that in nicely. Yeah, that was a stroke of genius on your part.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hang on one second, because somewhere in here I have a Briller Jeopardy for you. And I didn't read the.
Christinapedia, by the way, 236 days until Christmas, in case you weren't counting.
I'm sorry. So how many days? 236 days
Until
until
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I used to I early my thing with Christmas was that by July 4th you should have half your Christmas shopping done, and by Labor Day Christmas shopping should be rushed to completion. That's always how I've looked at it.
It would be wonderful if we were able to do something like that, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anthony Orr hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Anthony. I'm sorry. I apologize. I saw you messaged me. I am still trying to catch up on some stuff on Messenger, but I will respond to you. I know you wanted to talk about the Derby this weekend, which I watched, and it was an interesting race. But I wasn't really paying too much attention to the horses going into the race. So I didn't have any bets on, so I had no money to lose, which is good. Okay, so
I was laughing. I was laughing through the first half of the race. At literally seconds before the race began, I perused the listing of names and I said, "Oh, I'm going to go with Soup and Sandwich." And Soup and Sandwich was second through the first half of the race, and then all of a sudden just kind of faded away, in the latter part of the race. But I would have cracked up if I think it was what Soup and Sandwich was like 28-1. So
yeah, he pulled up.
oh
He
well,
finished dead last.
really?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Something went wrong with the horse, so the jockey pulled him up, which is a good thing because you don't want the horse to get injured. Um, Bill Rogers wants to know: is there any truth that we'll see debris from Halley's Comet next week? And what does debris mean?
The comet, all comets are litter bugs. They are composed they're actually they're kind of like asteroids, except they differ from asteroids in that they have pools or zones on the surface of volatile material, which when they get close to the sun, they literally shoot that material out into space. It creates that big, beautiful head. And as it gets closer to the sun, all of that material is blown back to form the tail. In the case of Halley's Comet, it's been around many, many, many times. And every time it goes around the sun, it leaves behind a trail of debris in the form of tiny little dust particles. Anything from toner in your copy machine to maybe little pebble-sized grains, and it just sits out there in space. But every year around the 5th and 6th of May, the Earth comes along in its orbit, runs through all of that, and those little tiny particles dash into our atmosphere at 30 and 40 miles per second, and friction with the atmosphere causes them to streak across our sky as shooting stars. And every year, on the 5th and 6th of May, we get a chance to see those bits and pieces left behind by Halley's Comet in the form of a meteor shower. And that will be early on the morning of the 6th, early this coming Thursday morning, will be the peak of the shower. And so if you're up around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and have the gumption to step outside, if it's clear, take a look. You might see a few shooting stars. And if you do, there is a very good chance that what you've just seen streaking across the sky was little bits and dust and dirt that was left behind by the great comet Halley on previous visits to the inner solar system.
And Christinapedia cashed a $28 ticket on the Derby, but she bet like 60, so you're in the hole for 32. Robert Brown, nice to see you on the chat tonight. French for the cheese, le fromage. Of course, if you want to say the big cheese, then it's le fromage grand. Okay, just so you know, that's right out of Monty Python. All right, so Briller Jeopardy tonight. The chairman has assembled, Joe, 10
Yes.
Okay, he's assembled 10 television shows. And your job tonight, as I name each one of these television shows, you are to name the makeup artist for each one of the. No, I'm just kidding.
How?
I'm just kidding. Max Factor. You are to name you are to name the year in which this television show debuted.
Okay.
And okay, uh, and you can get it wrong within, but if you're within 2 years, plus or minus, so we don't have Price is Right rules here. So plus or minus 2 years, uh, you get credit for you'll get credit for it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So let's start with I'll start with number 10 on the list, and that's Nova, the PBS show Nova.
When did Nova begin? I think Nova dates back to the 1970s. I'm going to say, I'll say 1975.
The correct answer is 1974, so you needed to be within two of that, and you are indeed within two. So that gives you one correct so far.
Okay.
The next one, number 9, is 60 Minutes.
I believe they started in 1960. Let's see, was it 7 or 8? I'll say 68.
And the correct answer is 1968. So you hit that one on the nose. So you now have 2 correct. All right. Number 8 on
Good.
this list is Meet the Press.
Well, Meet the Press is like, oh my God, they have been on almost forever. I'm going to say 1940. I'm going to say 1947.
Well, you're on a hot streak here. Meet the Press debuted in 1947. That's 3 for
Wow.
3. Now the next one, number 7 on the list, is Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke was around for like 20 or 21 years. I will say for with Gunsmoke, and you know what? I love Gunsmoke on the radio, Joe. I'm a big old-time radio fan, and you'll never guess who was Marshall Dillon on the radio version. And a lot of people asked in the aftermath, why isn't this actor who does Marshall Dillon on the radio, why isn't he playing Marshall Dillon on television?
Because he had a face for radio?
Well, not so much that. It was Robert Conrad, William Conrad, excuse me, William Conrad,
okay.
who played the role of Cannon.
Yes.
Remember the show Cannon?
Yes.
And Jake and the Fat Man.
Yes.
He played the Fat Man.
Yes.
Now he would not have made a good Marshall Dillon. And at one time, both the radio version and the TV version of Gunsmoke were on concurrently. In other words, you can listen to an episode with William Conrad on the radio, but you can also watch James Arness on television. I think the year that the TV version came was 1955.
Boy, you're hot. 4 for 4, and you got it right on the nose. 1955. Okay. Wow. Number 6, the Flintstones.
Flintstones.
Meet the Flintstones.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, they're bringing it back.
They're bringing it back.
Oh, I can only imagine what they're going to do with it.
Well, first of all, what bothers me about that is it's going to be 20 years after the arrival of the Flintstones. Of course, the Flintstones have been around for about 60 years. So pushing it forward 20 years, Fred is apparently on the verge of retirement, which is nice. The Stone Age is now transitioning into the Bronze Age, the Age of Enlightenment. Pebbles and Bam Bam are married. Pebbles and Bam Bam have 2 kids. The little girl looks like Pebbles, except she has white hair, like Bam Bam used to when he was a little boy.
Right.
And the little boy has red hair like Pebbles. But Fred looks the same. He doesn't look like he's aged any. Barney looks the same. Betty and Wilma look the same. They even had a picture of the mother-in-law. And I said to myself, well, the mother-in-law has to look like haggard or whatever. No, she looks the same too, except she has a bit of gray hair. Anyway, the Flintstones, I
I
believe
wonder who the voices are going to
they're.
be.
I forgot the name of the actress who's going to do the voice of Pebbles. But yeah, well, they probably can. Hey, look, you probably could do at least Barney. Anybody could do Barney. Fred.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Fred.
1960.
5 for 5.
1960 for the Flintstones.
5 for 5. 1960. Very good.
They they had one of my favorite episodes yesterday on the Flintstones on Sunday morning, Me TV, the one where he got robbed and the robber said, "Stick your hands up, nice and slow. See, that's the way to do it."
Oh, God. All right, number 5. Number 5 is I Love Lucy.
Oh, Joe. Not only can I tell you the year, I'll tell you the day. October 15th, 1951.
1951. Right, okay. 6 for
Yep.
6. Okay, number 4, The Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone got started, I believe. And they had two of my favorite episodes on last night. The one with William Shatner in the plane, where he thinks he sees that creature on the wing.
I don't like that episode.
You didn't like that?
No.
Oh, all right. And the other episode, they run two on Sunday nights. The other episode, which is one of my favorites, is A Kind of Stopwatch, where the guy has a stopwatch, and when he clicks it, everything freezes.
Yes, I remember that one.
And he drops it, and that's kind of
it.
like in the same way with and it's kind of the same kind of thing with Burgess Meredith dropping the glasses on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah. How about 1959 for the Twilight Zone?
1959. That is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've gotten 7 out of 10. So 7 of the first 7 in a row. Okay, so the last 3 now. The Honeymooners.
Honeymooners was 1950. Well, I presume it's the classic 39 episodes.
Yeah,
that we see.
Classic 39.
Not the lost episodes. Not the lost episodes, which were on Cavalcade of Stars. That they old Kinescope. 1955.
Correct. 8 for 8. Yeah. Number two, Perry Mason.
I believe Perry Mason was on for 9 seasons, and the first season was 1957.
1957. Boy, you're getting them exactly right. This is really impressive.
Sponsored by Beadzo Bleach.
Beadzo Bleach. Yes. With a little logo on the credits at the where they ran the credits at the end of the show. And the last one, which you're going to get, is MASH.
MASH, I believe, started in 1972.
So there was only one that you got where you were off by a year, and that was Nova, I believe. And the rest of them you hit all on the nose. So you got all 10 correct because of the 2 credit, but you got 9 out of 10 exactly correct. Now, had you gotten all 10 out of 10, Joe, you would have won an all-expense-paid trip to Dicker and Dicker of Beverly Hills.
And I keep telling you, Joe, instead of that prize, I would have preferred something from the Michael C. Fina Company or from the Spiegel
Catalog Company.
Spiegel,
Chicago, Illinois.
Illinois.
609. Oh, you know what?
All of you who are on the chat board, know that Joe and I probably wasted most of our childhood in front of the TV watching all of these shows.
Well, you have to understand something, though. I think a lot because the younger folks here don't understand that back in the day, your children's programming was really incredibly limited during the week, if anything at all. So if you were home during the day, you either watched the soap opera that your mother was watching, or maybe you watched game shows.
Right.
Because a lot of the networks, actually NBC was probably the one that carried the most that I recall, probably carried more game shows than everybody else. So that's what you watched. You watched Hollywood Squares. You watched Password. You watched Concentration. Um, along and a whole host of others. There was no Nickelodeon. There was no, the Cartoon Channel, or any one of a slew. Nick Jr. All of that came later in the '80s and beyond. So when you and I were growing up, you watched adult programming. That's what, and most of it was G-rated anyway. So that's just the way it was.
They used to have, I mean, actual people used to be on the children's shows each day. On Channel 11, they had Officer Joe Bolton and Captain Jack
Right.
McCarthy, and I had a crush on one young lady, Carol Corbett. I don't know if you remember
I
Carol
remember,
Corbett.
sure. Hmm.
And and they also had Beachcomber Bill. Channel 9 had one guy who did the cartoons, Claude Kirshner. And of course, Channel 5 had a slew of people. They had Sandy Becker, they had Soupy Sales, Uncle Fred Scott, Uncle Tom Gregory, Sonny Fox, Chuck McCann.
Yeah.
And now to save money, and they don't even show cartoons anymore. So what the heck is even? It is not even worth dwelling anymore.
No.
It's just and these people. I should add, Joe, these people became important. If you were a youngster in the early and mid '60s and you watched these shows, some of these hosts actually became like your pseudo uncle or even your pseudo father. Sonny Fox almost started to cry when he was relating the fact that he got a letter from somebody who said, "I grew up with you, and to you, and I had a father who was cold and distant and treated me nasty." He said, "So you were my father figure. You may have thought of it as a job, being on Wonderama or just for fun." He said, "But to me, it was a lot more." These people who did these cartoon shows, these kid shows, in many ways were very important to the people, the youngsters who were growing up. And now, again, the TV shows for kids don't even exist anymore. And what few do exist, they just throw on cartoons, and that's that.
No, I know it's a whole different world. We had we kind of grew up in a bit of a more of a golden age, I think. Um,
Absolutely.
you had
Sandy Becker, who was another person who not only did evenings, he had the Looney Tune show on Channel 5 in the evenings, like at 6 o'clock, but he was also there in the morning at 8 o'clock doing another cartoon show, and he had a puppet who would read the news of the day for the kids. And I think he was like a ball-headed puppet with eyebrows that would go up and down or whatever. I think he called him Harry Hennessy, I think was the name of the puppet. But the puppet would actually read the news for kids, for children. I remember this like it was, like it was happened like last year. But the interesting thing was that when President Kennedy was assassinated, and those of us who are old enough can remember what a horrible day that was, Sandy Becker came on Channel 5 that evening and spent an entire hour trying to explain to the kids what had just happened, what implications of what had just happened would be, and just literally tried to calm the kids down by telling them how serious this whole was, that we have just lost a president. We don't have anything like that today. Nothing like that. And maybe that's why today our society is the way it is, as opposed to society from 60 years ago when we had these people who, actually spoke to you, and again, were in some ways for some kids actually like a pseudo uncle or a pseudo father. But again, we don't have anything like that anymore in this crazy world of ours.
Yeah, no, and you know what? Kids today will say the same. Will be saying the exact same thing you're saying now. They'll be saying it to theirs. It's just
Right.
the generational thing. Everybody walked to school 10 miles in snow uphill both ways with no shoes when it
Right.
comes down to it. All right, the Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, where they've got more mulch than you can possibly imagine because they make it there and they have it in all the colors you could possibly choose from in order to make your yard look like something magnificent, something that the tax assessor will come and say, you're not paying enough taxes, so we're going to make your yard is too beautiful. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue, only kidding, except in Brookhaven. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. The website, omnitruevalue.com. Local business and the best prices in town, by the way, because this stuff's really expensive nowadays if you go to any of the big box stores. And also, brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Or you might want to do this as a business. Get in touch with them, 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst on Long Island, 631-957-5106. And the website there is liholidaylighting.com. So back tomorrow night. We're going to probably have another night of severe weather to deal with. So we'll see everybody tomorrow. Thanks for being here. We love that the regulars are here during this during the spring season, where all the winter people have disappeared and all the summer hurricane season people haven't appeared yet. So we're in that kind of void, but we're still here every single night.
That's
Or
right.
well, most
Absolutely.
nights. We'll check with Mr. Ruben Fairchild as to when we're allowed to take another day off.
Yeah. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Okay, got to hit the off button. Bye-bye.